Today I want to talk about, I was talking a little bit about with my friend on Twitter actually, and talking a little bit about the future and stuff like that. But that person said basically that the next decade, let's say between 2020 and 2030, might be the best decade all time. And there's a number of reasons why I would say people come to that kind of viewpoint, seeing all this emerging technology. So the $1 trillion decade, that is what I call it. Why? Well, okay, so let's just take some coffee first. Okay, so the $1 trillion decade, that's what I talk about. We don't have any trillionaire right now. We have Jeff Bezos. I think he's almost at 150 billion soon. He raised up, he passed basically Bill Gates and that other guy, Warren Buffett. Yeah, those guys are giving away a lot to charities. So they probably would be over 100 billion if they didn't do that. But we started to get people with 100 billion plus. And that's just 10% away from a trillion to a trillionaire. So that's why I call the future here also the $1 trillion decade, 2020 to 2030. We look at these cryptocurrencies, which is gonna kind of create trillionaires. When you take a look at how much tokens a lot of these people hold, and in a few years, if it just keeps growing because of more people getting into the crypto space, we're gonna have trillionaires on this planet, which is probably gonna happen between 2020 and 2030. And I would say I've done other videos, for example, on YouTube. I made a video talking about the pointlessness of money, how it seems as if we are entering, just because of computing power, like doubles every 2 years or so. I'm not sure if it's going to do that forever, but just because of computing power, everything gets cheaper to produce and stuff like that. Software can develop faster, innovation happens faster, transactions happen faster, monetary transactions, for example, with the XRP and Steam and all these tokens, happens faster. Everything's going faster, everything's cheaper, and it has this interesting effect. So let's go back to the Bill Gates. So we have billionaires on this planet right now, and we're getting, if you look at the stats, you can see we get around 200 new billionaires per year. We have around 2,000 billionaires on this planet, but 200 new billionaires per year. That means I think in 50 years we're gonna have around 10,000 billionaires on this planet, which obviously means a billionaire for rich people is not gonna be that big of a deal. It's gonna be trillionaire, and that is interesting. $1 trillion decade. I also seen these stories about the next 10 years. SoftBank will invest $880 billion in tech companies, and the guy there also believes in singularity, so he feels like we need to do this now. We may not have time after 2030 because computing power and artificial intelligence and all computing and all this is coming, so we might have to innovate faster and trying to make cool things right now. So the $1 trillion decade. If you ask me, I would say between 1990 to year 2000, that was an interesting decade for computers, because you had Windows 95 and it was something really, really new, and something that innovated and something that really was a difference in computing. You got mainstream internet coming. Then I would say between year 2000 and soon we are up in 2020, this has been more of a slow stage. Yes, we've been having some social media, we're having some YouTube, watching some cat videos, but it hasn't been super professional. and we mainly just been derping around 2005 Facebook, 2005 around YouTube. I think Facebook actually came 2004, but that's when we started social media. Now we've been having social media for around soon 15 years, and it's kind of cool, but we're kind of getting tired of this. And we're kind of getting tired of it in many ways because machine learning and monetizations it's not working anymore. I mean, when humans are connected to a global internet, they also need global monetary power, and that's what's going to happen with cryptocurrency tokens. And that's why 2020, I would say 2020 and 2030 is going to be the $1 trillion decade, and it's also going to be the most exciting decade. Why? Because $1 trillion, it means that a decade like that with so much value flows, so much of a liquid market, and be connected in a global internet system, when you can send internet money to everyone, it's going to open up so much more opportunities than what we had between year 2000 and up now 2020. It's kind of going slow right now, but you can see with 2008 Bitcoin and a monetary reward system, 10 years later right now, and it's only now it's started to compound faster and faster. I think after 2020 and between 2030, I mean, that's going to be the $1 trillion decade. We see, for example, the volume on some coins right now, some cryptocurrencies. XRP, I just checked today, it's around 4 billion right now, volume on 24 hours. And it's not even like mainstream yet. Banks are not even plugged into the system. It's going to be trillions probably in volume daily if this just goes on. And that is crazy. A liquid $1 trillion market where everything between 2020 and 2030 can be digitized. Real estate market, art market, anything basically, any physical thing can be digitized. And that's why it's going to be a $1 trillion market, because you for example, you actually do create new value out of nothingness basically. For example, real estate, someone can still rent it and live in it, and you can still own ownership parts in that place. So it's more of a rent and share economy, which is extremely fascinating. And digital ownership is going to be a real thing. You will be able to, if you buy a book or something digital on the internet, you will be able to resell it to another person because you will have a unique copy. Right now, if you buy a Kindle book, there is no way you can resell that. So it sort of is like a waste, and we all know that humans love to share stuff. I mean, that's why we are on the internet. We share bits and pieces here and there, and we saw it with the torrent industry. People got music and movies and stuff like that. But now we're gonna do this between 2020 and 2030 on a mainstream scale. We're gonna do that with monetary rewards, because money is something that's always been scarce. But when you make money digital, and when you make everyone to be able to send value faster and faster, it's going to increase the value of it. It's going to create a liquid market. It's going to create so much more opportunities. If a person wants to sell some physical thing, they can do it super fast, super easy, because of robotics and everything is making your life more frictionless. And we're going to get these food apps. We already have these food apps. One tap, get home food, super fast. You don't have to worry about going to a food store. And eventually it's going to be a token-based system. And just the more everything gets connected and integrated, the better system we're going to have. And that's why it's going to be a $1 trillion decade, because you're going to have this compound of intelligence. And now I haven't even talked that much about the blockchain stuff, the AI stuff, the robotic stuff, computing. I mean, everything's, you have all these emerging technologies that are dematerializing the physical world. And the reason why we're putting everything into software is because it's cheaper to have an experience in software than doing it in the real world. So virtual reality is going to lower the cost of experiences. Car ownership is going to be dead by like 2025, and owning a phone or getting a phone by probably 2023 is going to cost like a high-end phone right now is probably going to cost like in 2023 it's probably going to cost like $50. So even that is going down. So there's not really going to be a point in buying something super expensive with fiat currency or just currency in general. When you can, when every experience gets cheaper, this means that people have more value, they have more liquid value around, and they can share it around with a lot of other people. And instead of having a win-lose scenario, you have a triple win scenario, win-win-win, where basically all sides can win. Win-win was basically you had you yourself and you had a business partner, or you had you yourself and a friend, or you yourself and a partner. That's like a win-win relationship. But win-win-win is when you both win in, let's say, your country and with your friend, but also at a global scale, it becomes a win-win for everyone else. This is a new paradigm shift, right? Going from scarcity to abundance. $1 trillion decade. Now, I would say, and this is what I'm saying, what happens after 2030, I don't really know. There are some big things that are coming up after 2030 that I'm really not sure about. Big populations and stuff like that, and I'm not sure how that would be, how you would be able to handle that. There's a lot of crisis coming after 2030, and we also have a lot of other cool things that are going to come around 2020 and between 2020 and 2030. That is 5G data speeds. So the data speeds, the internet speeds, are going to be even faster, which means everything goes faster, and everyone loves speed. Everyone loves to save time and energy. It's amazing with these cryptocurrency stake-based platforms, where to build this $1 trillion economy, one of the key things that we're doing is we're stop wasting human energy. For example, on YouTube, 100,000 clicks, that will give a person $100. But if all those people did something, they can spend their energy in much more efficient ways. We're just going to get them some tokens. They don't have to worry about money, and then they can just innovate, create something bigger, and feel more abundant. And if you basically can make 100,000 people feel abundant instead of doing some clickbaity thing or whatever that's just going to make them feel better or feel worse, that's going to make society worse. If you can actually give them abundance, I feel that they're going to be more productive citizens, and it's going to be a net gain for everyone. Win, 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 right? And that's why it's going to be $1 trillion decade. Nothing is going to be impossible, because you have access to everything. Capital, connections, and also the work is probably going to be replaced by AI or robots or bots that can get that value for you. So you only have to focus on connections eventually, and capital. And capital is also kind of going to be fixed, and then it's just connections, and that's also going to be even easier to get more and more and more. So everything is coming together in a very nice, beautiful, integrated way. And obviously we look out for if there are any big dangers and stuff like that. Obviously that needs to be looked at, but in general it's probably going to be $1 trillion decade. So it's not, a person may think like, okay, I should buy a car or stuff like that in 5 years, but I mean, car ownership is probably going to be dead by then. So it's the same thing with people going to school. I mean, they don't know what to teach people these days, because in 5 years it's probably, I mean, all the knowledge you can use Google, and all those jobs, even though we create new jobs, it needs to be jobs that humans are better than robots at, and it's mainly robots that's going to do the work. But it's really fine. We are on holiday then, and we can look at bigger things, and we can be humans finally. No massive stress about everything all the time. Yeah, some quick talk about it here. $1 trillion decade, 2020, 2030. I love it. So try to think what you can do with the $1 trillion. How can that improve society? What is the best thing we can do? Right? Have an awesome day, DTube. Have an awesome day, Steam Blockchain.